Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. And joining me this week, former Dio and Whitesnake guitarist, currently in Def Leppard, the one, the only Vivian Campbell. He's got a new album out with his band Last in Line called Heavy Crown, featuring Vinny Appice and Jimmy Bain, part of the original Dio band. And on the other side, and totally unintentional, but here we go again, ex-Dio and ex-Whitesnake guitarist, Doug Aldrich. He has now joined the Dead Daisies, and so I speak to Doug about that. And then right at the end, we revisit the SNIDER Doug Aldrich, I guess, battle or thing. Let's call it a misunderstanding. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into these former Dio and Whitesnake guitarists, and of course, Def Leppard and Dead Daisies guitarists. Vivian Campbell and Doug Aldrich, and up first, the one, the only, Vivian Campbell.
Hello.
Hello, Vivian. How are you?
I am well, Mitch. How are you doing?
Good. Pleasure to speak with you.
Likewise.
So we're going to talk Last in Line, the new album, which I actually purchased from Japan, and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. So just congratulations on that. It's a great album. Going to be one of the top 10 of the year, definitely.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very flattered you actually purchased it. That's even better.
It is, and I'm one of those that believes that it's important to support your artists, because if you don't, they won't be around, and we don't want that.
Yeah, that's true.
So let me start with the band. You've got Vinny, there was Jimmy, you had Claude Schnell for a while. Why did you want to get back together with the original Dio guys? Because we know the history. After you left, it wasn't, you didn't send each other Christmas cards. Let's put it that way. Why did you want to revisit that part of your past?
Well, the easy answer is in early 2011, Scott Gorham called me and asked if I wasn't doing anything, which I wasn't at the time because Leppard were on hiatus. He said, would you like to come and be a stunt guitar player for Thin Lizzy? And I absolutely jumped at the chance. Lizzy were such a monumental and influential act for me as a teenager when I was really honing my craft as a guitarist. I knew the Live and Dangerous album inside out, and I was such a fan of Lizzy. And the guitar players that went through Lizzy, Scott and himself and Brian Robertson, and in particular Gary Moore, who was probably my ultimate guitar hero.
Right.
So I jumped at the chance and I went and I did a brief tour of Europe and some East Coast American shows with Lizzy. And just to be on stage with Scott Gorham and Brian Downey and playing Emerald and Black Rose and great songs, it really got me excited about guitar playing again, and I hadn't felt that way in many, many years. It kind of, guitar playing had become my job. It still is my job, but it had become kind of, one of those things that I kind of took for granted and didn't get particularly excited about. But I came off of that tour just wanting to play guitar. I was 16 again, and it was a great feeling, and I thought, well, I just got to play. And no one better to play with than Jimmy Bain and Vinny Appice. So I called them up. We were still friends. We had never fallen out over the years. We didn't see each other that often, but, we still had a kinship for each other. And I called them up. I said, guys, you want to just go in a rehearsal room and play? And they were agreeable to that. And we went in and we played. And at that stage, I believe it had been about 27 years since we played together. And the chemistry was immediate. It had never gone away, and we all got goosebumps, and it was kind of scary, and we got so excited about it. And then Vinny suggested, this would be so much better if we had someone to sing. And because I know this young guy, Andrew Freeman, he lives close by, let me give him a call. So he called Andrew. Andrew came down. It was the first time I met Andy, and he came in and started singing. And that's when I had a bit of an epiphany. The light bulb went off, and I thought, here's the original Dio band, Jimmy, Vinny, and myself, and it's an unmistakable sound that we make together. It's the sound of the early Dio records, and yet here's a singer who sounds nothing like Ronnie, but is equally powerful and passionate and strong, and it seemed like a fun idea to to go out and do the songs, from the early Dio records that we had done with Ronnie, and just for a bit of fun. So we kind of put the project together with very limited ambition. We all were involved in other projects, obviously, that we were committed to. So it was always just going to be a part-time thing. And we weren't considering doing music at all. We're just doing the early Dio songs. And it was a bit of fun. And that's the way it remained for a couple of years until Frontiers Records actually got in touch with us and said, would you consider making a record of new material? And we looked at each other and we thought, well, give it a go. And we did, and it came out great, and it was so easy to make. It was such a joyous, free-flowing, organic experience, and we knew it was going to be a good record, and it exceeded our expectations, and it was really a perfect match for us to end up working with Jeff Pilson. He just totally brought out the best in Andrew in particular, and he completely understood what it was we were trying to do, and didn't sully the process at all. In fact, really, really helped us achieve the goal. So it was great, and we're very, very proud of the record, and then obviously extremely saddened by the fact that here on the very eve of its release, we had to bury Jimmy Bain last weekend. So
yeah, that's
his life.
Yeah, that's and I do want to talk to you about Jimmy in a minute, but if I can just take back the Thin Lizzy thing, that seems to be a thread that runs through your professional career, because when you tried out for Def Leppard, it was Thin Lizzy's The Rocker, one of the songs that you tried out with, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, the Lizzy catalog is ingrained in my DNA, from those teenage years. I saw Lizzy play a bunch of times. My first band, Sweet Savage, opened for Thin Lizzy numerous times. And Phil Lynott would even get up on stage on occasion and play with Sweet Savage when we were in Dublin.
Right.
So there was a lot of interaction in my teenage years between me and Lizzy. I was around them a lot, but never part of the band. I always wanted to be in Lizzy.
And then you were.
That would have been my dream come true. Would have been to play guitar with Thin Lizzy. So when Scott called me, it was a complete no-brainer.
Right.
I was right in there.
If I may, compare the recording process of Last in Line with a Def Leppard album, because I know, Leppard, there's a lot of layering of guitars. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It takes time. How did this compare? What was the process on this? Was it 3 months, 6 months? Was it just set up the amps and let's go?
They couldn't be more different.
Right.
Although the Last in Line record was made over a course of probably 7 or 8 months, it was done in installments, 3 different installments, where we'd write the songs and we'd record them within a few days. But it was a very, very different process to Leppard. The Leppard thing is very analytical. It's very thoughtful. And like you say, it's very, very layered as well. But the reason why Leppard takes so long to make a record, it's more the thought process behind it as opposed to the actual physical recording of it. It's just to say, with Last in Line, we neither thought much about it nor spent too much time doing it. Plus, we didn't layer it much at all. We really didn't want to. There's a couple of songs on the track, a couple of tracks on the album, where we got more involved in production and put more tracks on. But for the most part, the brief for making the Heavy Crown album was just to record the tracks live, which we did, and I reinforced the rhythm guitar, so we'd pan one hard left, one hard right. We'd do a guitar solo and we'd do a vocal, and we'd do whatever minor guitar embellishments might be required, but only if they added to the song. So the two recording processes for both those bands are just completely at opposite ends of the spectrum. But it's horses for courses, as they say. I mean, they're very different bands and very different results.
Was it rewarding for you to be able to record this way in a more sort of organic kind of process? Less frustrating,
It's
perhaps?
much more my natural environment.
Okay.
You know, I've said for years that I've never quite felt fully incorporated into the way that Leopard works, because it's not the way that I learned how to do it. For the other guys in the band, it is. That's the method that they learned from the early days with Nutline. For me, my first album was Holy Diver, and it was made in exactly the same way that the Heavy Crown album was made. Like that, we'd go in, we'd record the tracks live, and then we put on another guitar part, do a solo, Ronnie do a vocal, we'd move to the next track. It was organic, you know, it was quick, it was old school, and that's the method that I grew up learning, and that's, I suppose, what comes more natural to me, you know.
Right. So when you go in to record it, are you aware that, of course, fans are going to say, well, it's the Dio lineup, we're expecting a Dio sounding album with a different singer, or did you just say, well, we'll just make the music we make and it'll be? I mean, did you try to please the Dio audience with the songs?
No. We went in with no forethought whatsoever. We just started playing. You know, when Jimmy and Vinny and I play, it's the sound of the early Dio records, because we were 75% of the band. So that's not a contrived thing. That's just the way it is. But we didn't, you know, try to write songs in the style of Dio or anything. We literally just went in and started playing, and we didn't think much about it. I mean, we just took whatever came. You know, we didn't get too critical about things and think, oh, we can't do that, or we should write something like X, Y, or Z. You know, we just started playing, and what came out, and it came out really, really quick, as indeed did the songs on Holy Diver and Last in Line. I mean, you know, there was always a real chemistry between Jimmy and Vinny and I, and a real spark, and we could knock out a song super quick, you know, or at least the building blocks for a song. You know, it's up to the singer to actually hang a melody on it, you know, on a lyric. And that's obviously a very, 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 very important part of it. But no, we had no agenda whatsoever, other than to just see what comes out, and that's what came out.
And it came out great. So let's talk about Jimmy. You're on the Def Leppard cruise, and he passes away. Obviously, a great shock. Then what? And I don't mean to sound rude. It's just that I'm not good at handling situations when people pass away. But how do you look at the band? What are your thoughts? How, was it shocking? I mean, if you can walk me sort of through that. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I apologize.
Well, no, obviously it was very shocking for us. You know, Jimmy really put his heart and soul into this record. It was a very important record for him over the last year and a half when we first started the process. This album was done last spring. It could have been released last April. And the reason we didn't release it was because we wanted to wait until everyone's schedule opened up so that we could tour to support it, because we all believed in it that much. We didn't want it to just go out there and wither on the vine without support. So, I mean, it's particularly sad that we did that. we got to the 11th hour, and literally 28 days before this record was to be released, Jimmy dies, you know, because we all really invested in it. We all really believed in it. We're all super proud of it. But none more so than Jimmy, because Jimmy was having a real battle with his sobriety. And I believe it was the process of writing and recording this record and being in this band that really helped him stay focused. And he was focused. He was definitely sober for at least the last year and a half. And anyone who knows Jimmy will know that he had this ongoing battle with sobriety his entire life. And so we were very proud of him that he finally overcame that hurdle. You know, it's just particularly ironic and sad that he died at the last minute there. We will honor some of our obligations. We had certain shows that we were booked to do. One of them is the Frontiers Festival in Italy this April, which we're headlining one of the nights. Another is the Rocklahoma Festival in Memorial Day weekend. So we will do those two shows. With whom on bass, I really don't know yet. We haven't even begun to get our head around that. But we think that it's important that we do that, not just for Jimmy and his memory, but for the sake that it's a great record and that we've come this far, and
Yep.
we owe it to ourselves and to Jimmy to do something. We were actually booked to go on tour March and April across the U.S. We're not going to do that now. It would be just wrong to go out and just get someone to play bass. It's not going to be the same ever. So we'll continue, but to what we don't really know, and we literally just put Jimmy in the ground last weekend, so it's still very raw. We don't really want to get too ahead of ourselves on it, but we love the record. Jimmy loves the record, and we owe it to ourselves and to his memory to do something with it.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course you had Jeff Pilson who produced it. Maybe he would. Maybe he could fill in for those couple of shows because he I think understands the project, right?
Well, that would be the first obvious choice, because Jeff was very, very much a part of making this record and a very important part of it too. He's a great producer for us. He's also a great bass player and a great singer, and was associated with DIO briefly in his career. So, but like I say, we're not even thinking of what's what yet. We just know that those were the two major commitments that we had signed on for prior to Jimmy's death, and that we should at least play those two shows with someone.
Yeah, I agree. If I may, if we can just turn and go down a different road for a bit, I'd like to ask you a few other questions. Between DIO and Whitesnake, you were in a band called Trinity. Whatever happened with that? There were rumors that an album was made and you couldn't land a record deal, and thus it never came out. And then there was the other side of the coin where nothing ever happened and it was just a band in name only. What did happen with Trinity? And is there a secret record?
We wrote a bunch of songs and we recorded a few of them. Not to any great standard, differing standards. We actually had a couple of different sessions here, there, and everywhere. But I would term the music as being in the demo stage. And the reason, with benefit of hindsight, the reason why it never took off was it was too scattered an approach. I mean, we weren't at all focused on what we were doing. And for record companies, that was very difficult for them to get their head around that. The obvious marketing angle would have been to push us towards hard rock, guitar-driven music, because I had just come out of DIO. And that would have been the marketing leg up that they would have needed. And we did have, we had that edge. We were guitar heavy for sure, but we were stylistically all over the map. We were just kind of throwing shit out there to see what it was we wanted to do. We didn't even really know. It was just a sort of an experiment,
Right.
And like I say, hindsight and experience is a great teacher. So if I could talk to my 24-year-old self, I'd say, hey, reel it in a bit, focus on something, don't be so scattered there. It is what it is, I ended up going and playing with Whitesnake, and that wasn't so bad either.
No, it's actually that turned out pretty good. Talking about albums that were maybe a little scattered, and maybe that's not the right word for it, but Slang is 20 years old this year. I always thought that was a good album. I like the song Slang. I like a lot of All I Want Is Everything. What do you remember about making that album?
Well, I think scattered is actually a good word.
Probably.
The Slang album, because Leppard went in to make that record knowing only one thing as fact, and that was that we couldn't make a Def Leppard record. We couldn't make a record that sounded like Def Leppard. We had to try all these different things. So we were very scattered. We were very directionless on this, and we didn't have Mutt Lang. We didn't have that kind of producer. You know, we went into the studio with Pete Woodruff, who was an engineer co-producer, you know, but he was not, at least not at that stage in Peter's career, he was not forceful enough to shape the direction of the record with the band. And a lot of stuff was happening personally with the band. I think, you know, a lot of grown-up stuff was starting to happen, like death and divorce, and, you know, so it was hard to kind of get your head around singing songs like Let's Get Rocked. You know, we weren't going to do anything like that, that was for sure, for various reasons, you know, that I just explained. But so it was very experimental, you know, and I think it's fair to say it was quite directionless, you know,
Right.
but it was all we could do at the time, and under the circumstances, I think it actually came out good. I think sonically it's a great sounding record because it, as a result of all of this confusion, you know, we in Def Leppard at the time kind of recorded live, and that was very much not the kind of thing that Def Leppard did, but we actually were a pretty solid band, so it was good, you know, and Pete was a good enough engineer to capture the sound of the band live, and Rick went back to using the acoustic in whatever way he could
Right.
promote that record. So the guitar tones, the drum tones, and the organic sound of the record is actually sonically really, really strong, I think. You know, personally, and I think if you get 5 different answers from all 5 members of Def Leppard on this, but personally, I think we probably could have spent a little bit more time polishing some of the songs, you know, incorporating a little bit more of the aspects that we were strong on, like the hooks and some more backing vocals, you know, as opposed to making it as stripped down and raw as it was. But, you know, other people might disagree with me on that.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to ask you just one random question, then I'll wrap this up. You were on a band from a Swiss band named Gotthard back in '92, I guess it was. You played on 2 of their songs on that album, and it's one of these bands that in North America nobody knows about yet. In Switzerland, they're multi-platinum. How did you get involved with that band, and how did you end up on those tracks?
That's a good question. I don't even really know, and I haven't heard them since. I have no idea how they came out. I just happened to know the chap who was producing the record,
Okay.
and he asked me. I live close by the city. He asked me if I'd come down and meet these guys and play a bit of guitar, and you know, I saw no reason why not to, so I did. And I met them, and they were nice chaps. Played guitar, but like I say, I don't own the records, and I have no idea if it came out.
Well, it came out good. I bought them. And if I may, your health, it's been well documented that, you know, you had this cancer scare and you've been in and out. And how are you doing personally?
I'm doing very, very well, thank you. My health is the least of my concerns. It's ongoing maintenance, you know. The sad thing is Jimmy Bain died of cancer. He didn't even know he had it.
Right.
You know, Jimmy, we knew he was suffering from pneumonia, but it turned out it was because he had lung cancer that was eating away at his body, and obviously he had it for years and years. You know, I'm one of the lucky ones. I discovered it early. I'm well ahead of the game. I've got good health care and great doctors, and you know, right now I'm doing. I'm part of a phase 2 clinical trial taking this experimental drug called pembrolizumab, which is also the same thing that cured Jenny Carter's melanoma. So it does have a very good record with certain other kinds of cancers. I'm one of the first wave of patients who's taken it for lymphoma. And so far the results are good. You know, it seems to be holding things at bay at least. I can continue this treatment for another year and a half or so. The beauty of that is that there's absolutely minimal side effects to me personally, at least. And I can continue to do my work, which is of utmost importance to me. So the hardest part with me taking this drug is scheduling and the extra travel, because it's a clinical trial. I have to be administered this drug in Los Angeles. So wherever I am in the world, I have to fly back to LA every 3 weeks. You know, I've flown back from Singapore, I've flown back from London, I've flown back from New York, wherever, just to get these treatments. But it allows me to continue to work. And like I said, I'm one of the lucky ones. You know, Jimmy was was one of the unfortunate ones who
Right.
couldn't afford healthcare. But that's a whole different.
That's a whole different.
Subject.
But
we could be here for weeks talking about that.
But with the schedule, well, especially since I'm in Canada, if you have something, I had 2 heart surgeries and it didn't cost me a penny, right? It's a different healthcare system.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all political, but I think it's a more humane system. But that's another show. How is it with all the travel and the trials and all that? Why not just say, I'm just going to stay in LA and I'm going to deal, because when you're in full health and you're 25, touring is hard on the body. Why not just say, okay, I'm going to stay home and we'll deal with this and I'll come play in the studio and we'll do the album, we'll make the Def Leppard album, but...
That to me would be the death sentence.
Okay.
My work is catharsis for me. There's nothing that brings me greater happiness than to do this. All I ever wanted to do in my life was to play guitar in a band. I'm fortunate that I get to play guitar in more than one band. So I couldn't imagine anything worse than staying at home and just me and my illness, looking at the clock on the wall.
Right.
It's important to me to get out there and live life, and not capitulate to the disease. And like I say, I'm fortunate that I've kept one step ahead of it all the way, so I've been able to do that, and I'll continue to do it. So, if this drug doesn't cure the cancer to some extent within the next 18 months, then I am going to have to consider other options that may curtail my ability to work. But in the meantime, I'm going to lie and cried.
Yeah, and as a fan, I certainly support that because I love to see you out there. I saw Def Leppard, I guess when was it, in May? One of the greatest shows. I mean, the band still has it. With that in mind, are you in the studio more, making more music just to keep yourself busy and keep your mind off of things? Are you doing other projects? Is Def Leppard working on a new album? Is Last in Line #2 coming out?
All of the above. Yeah, I'm spinning a lot of plates. Yeah, I'm trying to work as much as possible.
Okay.
Obviously, Last in Line. Although our wings have been clipped from our original schedule because of Jimmy's passing. Leppard, we did just postpone a bunch of shows with Def Leppard. I should have been on the road with Leppard right now, but we postponed because of Joe's voice. We're going to reschedule those shows for May. Then from late June to October, we'll be undertaking another North American tour with Leppard. I just got an offer to make another record with the Riverdogs.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that.
Come to fruition, So it's good to be busy.
Yeah, it really is. And I was going to ask you about the Riverdogs because I spent half an hour before you phoned listening to that 1990s Riverdogs album, and it's still brilliant. And here we are, what is it, 26 years later or whatever?
It's a shame that record kind of fell between the cracks. It really was good. Rob Lamosse, one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. Always was and still is, so it would be nice to revisit that. We just literally are in the discussion stages about the possibility of doing that as well, though I wouldn't know when. I mean, the schedule is getting pretty busy, but it's exciting to think about doing these things again.
It is, and of course the technology has changed. You don't have to go to a studio. You can sort of just punch it up on the computer and send it in. And I'll ask you one last question because we're running out of time here. You have on the Def Leppard tours Steve Brown of Trixter that is there and present. Is that something that you see as positive, or is that something that you go, why is this guy here? And I don't know if that's the right way to ask the question, but how is that for you?
Well, it breaks my heart to not be able to do my work,
right.
Job. As I said, it's very, very important to me. I take tremendous pride in what I do. I think I do it to the best of my ability every single time that I go on stage. So it's always very, 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 very difficult for me to not be able to go on stage with Def Leppard, and there have been a handful of times when Steve had to cover for me. I hate the thought of letting the band down. I hate the thought of letting our fans down, which is why I encouraged the band to have Steve or anyone stand in for me so that we didn't have to cancel shows. I think that's the last possible resort. The last option is that we cancel shows. My current treatment option means that we will no longer have to do that. There's no reason for me to miss shows taking the treatment that I'm currently taking and will be for the next 18 months. The 4 shows at the start of last summer's tour that Steve Brown had to cover for me were only because I was in transition. I was initially supposed to do a course of radiation, which thankfully, for various reasons, I ended up not doing, and I opted to do this course of immunotherapy that we discussed earlier. So, like I say, I'm very, very proud, and I take great pride and passion in my work, and it breaks my heart to not be able to do a show. So I'll do whatever I can to make sure it never happens again, you know.
Right. Well, Vivian, we had half an hour and we've reached that. Thank you so much. And of course, last in line, Heavy Crown. I purchased it from Japan. I got the import bonus tracks and the whole thing. It is great. I recommend it to anybody who's listening. So, hey, keep on rocking, I guess is what we say, right?
Well, thanks, and I will. Thanks, Mitch. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And anytime, let's do this again.
Cheers. Be well. Bye-bye.
You too now. Bye-bye. And there you have it, folks, my interview with Vivian Campbell. I have always enjoyed speaking with Vivian. It's been, probably 4 or 5 interviews. We've covered everything over the years. Always a pleasure. Had a chance to meet him personally. Very personable guy, so always a pleasure. Last in line, Heavy Crown is the album. I did buy it. I do have it, and I do suggest that you check it out. If you like that hard, heavy rock, Last in Line, Heavy Crown is definitely for you. Now, if you want good old-fashioned dirty rock and roll, then the Dead Daisies are for you. And Doug Aldrich, again, former Dio and Whitesnake guitarist, joined the Dead Daisies recently. They are currently in the studio putting together a new album down with Marty Fredrickson and, of course, John Corabi on vocals and all that fun stuff. And I had a chance to catch up with Doug. So let's have a listen. Here is Doug Aldrich. We are speaking with Doug Aldrich of the Dead Daisies. That is the first time, Doug, that I got to say that. I've said of Whitesnake, and I've said of this and of that, and raiding the Rock Vault, but I've never said of the Dead Daisies before. So how does that feel?
Sounds pretty good, man. How you doing, Mitch?
Good. I'm doing great. It's been a while since we last spoke. I think it was mostly for the Revolution Saints project, which I still think is a great album. So
yeah, it's good. I mean, some people will go, oh, well, how many bands and all that kind of stuff. It's no more bands than Eric Clapton or, Jeff Beck or whoever. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different bands that you work with, and sometimes your name gets attached. Yep. So I'm very proud to have joined up with the Dead Daisies. The majority of the band is dear friends of mine, and now it's just really like on a whirlwind pace. So I'm very excited to be a part of the band.
Yeah, and it's a nice mix. Now, I as far as I know, Brian Tichy is still with the Dead Daisies, correct?
Yes.
Which means that this is sort of a reunion of one of the Whitesnake lineup. So how does it feel to get back in a band with Brian?
Great, because Brian's he's one of my all-time favorite drummers, and definitely one of my favorite drummers to play with. He's, Brian's, we've done a lot of playing together in Whitesnake, and also we have a jam band that we do once in a while called Steamroller, and we just play whatever comes to mind and go into a club and have a lot of fun with that. And Brian's, he can play anything. I mean, he's like, he knows all about everything from Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and Rush, and everybody. And so we end up just jamming from everything from blues things to reggae to heavy rock. And Brian's great. He's an unbelievable player. Anybody that's seen him play live or seen him with me with Whitesnake knows he's he's insane. He's such a talented drummer.
Yeah, I fully agree. So talk to me about the Dead Daisies project, because they've been around. They've done a bunch of tours. They brought in John Corabi on vocals. What interested you in the band and said, yeah, this is the right fit for me?
Actually, I didn't really know. I didn't know about the Dead Daisies until Marco started talking about it.
By the way,
they had had Marco Mendoza, who also
was in Whitesnake.
Another version of Whitesnake that I was in.
Right.
When David said, "Look, I'm going to reform the band. I want you to be in it," and he said, "I've got this bass player Marco that I also want," and Marco and I became quick friends, and then Marco ended up leaving the band a couple of years later, I guess it was, and so that was one version of Whitesnake, and then down the road a piece Brian came in, so now you've got like a core of Whitesnake in the Dead Daisies, which is really cool. But Marco's the one that told me about the Daisies, and I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. And Dizzy was friends of mine, Richard, friends of mine, and I heard a couple of things they had done with the previous singer, and it sounded really good. But I'll tell you what really blew me away was on the last record, the Revolution record that they did. They did a cover of an Alex Harvey song that I remember. I've known John Corabi since 1979 when I was in school, and John and I were in Philly, and there was a band that everyone kind of talked about that played the clubs, and they were doing this cover song by Alex Harvey Group and Midnight Moses. And nobody had ever done that song. It's such a great riff. And when I heard the Dead Daisies version, I texted Brian. I said, "Man, that's unbelievable. It sounds killer. It's really, really great. It's such a simple riff." And I know that John Corabi is the one that told you guys about it, because he's the one, he knew about it way back in the day. Now, I really don't know if that's true, but he's the one that gave him the idea. But the version that the Dead Daisies did was really nice. It sounded modern and cool, and the video that they did was great. And basically how it all came together was last year. There was a situation where they needed someone to fill in. I think there was some, I'm not sure exactly why, but they needed someone to fill in on guitar for Richard. And
well, Richard had gotten into either a motorcycle or a car accident, a pretty serious one.
That's right. So he was injured, and Marco called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing in November and December? Would you be available to do some dates?" And I said, "Listen, I've got going huge dates I'm doing right now, and I can't do it in December, because I've already committed to going to Japan, and I'm definitely, like, once I commit to something, I have to keep it. So
right, of course.
I said, if we can work around that, I'm happy to help. If you need me, if you don't need me, and you can find someone else, that's cool. And whatever I can do to help you guys, because like I said, they're all my friends. And it turns out they got somebody to help them in Australian dates and some other stuff, and it worked out. But then somewhere in, I guess it was in December, they decided that there was a possibility that maybe they were going to be making some changes, and I don't really know the ins and outs of that either. But I will say that I was happy they called me, and I talked to David Lowy, the guitar player, and he's more or less the leader and the founder of the band, and we hit it off on the phone. We were talking about guitar styles, and that he was a different kind of player than I am, and I thought that was really the kind of perfect combination when you're putting two guitar players together. Instead of having both guys kind of working in the same area, right. It's nice to have different guys. And he's primarily, for me, he's kind of like the Keith Richards of the Dead Daisies, because he kind of drives the band with his riffs, and the energy that he puts out is unbelievable, and it's a very different thing than what I do. So it just worked out. We talked and we decided, let's get together and let's work on a record, work on some songs, and the whole band will be together and we'll play. And we actually hit it off so well that we decided we didn't need to meet up prior. We just would get together and commence working on the next Dead Daisies record.
With Marty Fredrickson.
Yes. So that's what we started to do, and it's been a whirlwind, as I said. It's just, I mean, I have never, I've always been creative with, you know, whoever I sit down with. I mean, working with David Coverdale was an amazing experience. He was really creative. And working with Ronnie James Dio, the same thing. With the Dead Daisies, he's got, like, everybody is a writer, you know. David Lowey's got great riffs. Marco's got Marco is, you know, got all kinds of stuff. And,
yeah, Marco's Marco. He's great.
John Crosby is a full-on, you know, John Crosby's like one of those guys like David Coverdale where he can write everything himself and sing it. So he's a complete, and same with Marco. And same with Tishy, Brian. So everybody's a songwriter. And we started off with maybe, I would say, 3 or 4 songs in the first 2 days. But then we had a bonanza weekend, and we came up with like 10 complete song pieces, 10 complete song arrangements. So we were already into, you know, 14 songs or something. Then we took off and came here to New York, where we are now. We're holed up in a little tiny, it's like a little rehearsal room where I just set up, you know, Pro Tools, and we can kind of do these very rough jams and demos. But now we've already got another 6 or 7, 8, I don't even know. So we've got all kinds of different stuff, and it sounds to me like it's going to be a really deep, diverse record. Obviously, it's going to be a rock and roll record. It's going to be a heavy. It's going to have heavy rock moments and stuff, and it'll have the light and shade stuff that all of us are into. But and then there's a couple of surprises that I'm really hoping make the record. I mean, now what it's going to come down to is we're going to take all of this music, and we're talking about complete arrangements we got. We're going to take all this stuff back to Nashville in a couple days, and Marty will have the huge task of going through everything and deciding what's in and what we should focus on. So
yeah, and he's definitely a master at that. In terms of your position in the band, is this Doug is in Dead Daisies, or is this Doug is sort of holding the spot until Richard comes back from his other commitments?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely in the band.
Okay.
And I don't know what, you know.
I mean, you've joined the band. You're not just squatting. I mean, you've joined the Dead Daisies.
Yeah. No, I'm not filling in for Richard. Richard was kind enough to recommend me to take his place. So I'm putting everything I have into this record. Now, that said, with the cool thing about the Dead Daisies is that the Dead Daisies works when the Dead Daisies is working, but then when it's not working, the people are free to do other things. I fortunately have a schedule now with like, for example, I still hold. It's a band that I've worked with for years, and I love the singer Keith St. John.
Burning. Yeah, that's a great band.
Burning Rain is very important to me, and we have a record started. It's not finished yet, but now I'm so inspired. I just can't wait to you know, keep writing. Once we shut down the doors of the Dead Daisy writing sessions, now all these floodgates have been opened in my head. So I'm just I'll be excited to look at that later down the road. But that's what's cool about Dead Daisies is you got some time to do other things. And I'm at this point, I'm basically going to focus on making the best record that we can make with these 5 killer people that I'm involved with, Marty and the guys. And we're set to support it and start kicking ass and take the Dead Daisies to whatever the next level is. And I'm on board for the long haul. I'm always on board for the long haul. It's it's sometimes there are certain situations that just kind of disintegrate, but this band was there before me, so I don't see that happen.
Yeah, no. Let me ask you, because I know this is just more of an update rather than a full length interview. You mentioned Burning Rain, and I've loved that stuff. Keith has one of the greatest voices in rock, and I just love the fact that he's out there and doing it. Is it signed to any label, or is it sort of one of these deals where you're putting the record together and then we'll go shop it, or are you actually writing for somebody at this point?
No, it's signed. That deal is signed. It's with Frontiers with Serafino, and
right.
Serafino's been supportive of Burning Rain for a long time, and
of you personally.
Yeah, and we have some great ideas, and it was just that as things have been in my past, where I kind of was doing, I had responsibilities with other projects, and one being the Rock Vault, which I'm still a member of the Rock Vault. I would be happy to go back to the Rock Vault periodically and do guest appearances whenever schedules allow. And they're talking about doing some stuff in Europe that they asked me to do. But it was Rock Vault last year, a lot of Rock Vault and a lot of Glenn Hughes. And Glenn called me in the last summer, and I was kind of looking for a fresh change just to clear my head, get out of Las Vegas for a little bit. And Glenn asked me to he was looking for a guitar player. He really wanted to have me come in, and he wanted to feel confident about who was coming in, and he knows me, so we've been friends for years. So we had a lot of fun and have been doing that. And we still have now in March, we've got 3 weeks of dates, which I had actually, when the Daisies called and said, we're going to do the record, it's going to be in March, I said, well, I want it. I'd love to do this record. And I really like where the band is at this point. But I've got those dates. I need to maintain my
commitments.
My commitment with Glenn. And
right.
And I hadn't really heard of any other dates with Glenn at this point. If down the road, if he needs me, I'm there. But I'm sure he's got a number of guitar players that he could use.
Yeah, and if Glenn goes into the studio, hopefully you'll be part of that too, because I think that's a killer combination. I mean, he's a great vocalist, great bass player, and your guitar is just one of those. It works.
Thanks, man. I love Glenn. I love what he does. And Glenn's very
intense,
he's
passionate.
He's very diverse with what he does, and I love what he does. And I have to say, playing live with him has been one of the best live experiences I've ever had. It's just a trio situation, playing great songs from his catalog and also some great Deep Purple songs and putting our own spin on them as a trio. And then also we were featuring a song that I had written with David, which I really like to play live because I never got a chance to do it with David. So that was really fun. And we would basically we would light each other up and have laughs. And Glenn would say, we'll start with this part here, and we'll go into this part and this part during the solo section. And then we'd be on stage, and it would go somewhere totally, completely different, but it was equally as cool. And then he'd say, let's work on that part. I was saying to him, let's just go play off each other. That's what we do best, and we play off each other. But like I said, Glenn's got a lot of different people that he works with, and I am kind of, I've got commitments now with Dead Daisies and also Burning Rain. So after these, I think for a long time, I don't know, but I think that these U.S. dates, I hope people will come out and see me and Glenn, because I think that's going to be the end of that trio with me involved for a little while, at least, maybe for the remainder of the year or something like that. We'll see what the future holds, but I don't know what Glenn's plans are for recording or whatever.
Right, and so just to finish here, because I know we were only sort of doing a 15-minute update, where do we go from here with the Dead Daisies? Like, are you going to be finished recording by April or May or June, and then it comes out this year? Or is this something that we're already looking at 2017? What is sort of the timeline? And then also to get you on the road and playing live with the band?
Well, I don't know about the business details and the schedule exactly, because, like I said, it's just been a whirlwind. All I know is that I'm here to play guitar and to write, and that's what the band is doing right now. So we're writing. We're going to write the best record that we have in us as a collective. And from what I'm seeing, and the opportunity to work with Marty just kicks it up. It's like fire, with gasoline poured on it. he's really fast and really focused. And, it's so funny, Mitch, because you get 5 guys in a room and you start talking about song ideas and riffs, and everybody's got, ideas and where do you start, But we've been really open with each other and tried everything and basically worked up all ideas, and we've been pretty straight up. Like if something wasn't complete, we just hold off on it until later. But if someone's got a complete idea, we're gonna work it up and put our spin on it. And then Marty has been really great at being focused and going, I love that part there. Let's try and work on this section, and why not do this? Why not change that chord? It's been really cool to have the opportunity to work with Marty. He's really a genius in the studio.
Yeah, I agree. And anyway, I'm very much looking forward to the results of this collaboration, and more so looking forward to seeing you guys on the road, because I think I've seen the Daisies before. They opened up for Def Leppard and Kiss and other places, and they really just bring it live. This is truly one of those live bands. You got to see it. And with John, and now you,
well, John,
perfection.
I'll tell you what, I'm so happy to work with John, because I've known John, like I said, for years, since the late 70s. And John's always been a badass. He was a badass in Motley. He was a badass in the Scream. And he's just such a cool dude. I mean, anybody that knows him knows that. He is so mellow. Like, nothing rattles his feathers, really, And Marco is hilarious. Marco's bigger than life, David Coverdale always used to say, Marco is a giant, he's a giant. And he is. He's got a giant personality. And Brian is just like the Tasmanian devil. He has tons of energy. David Lowey's more of like, he seems like I'm still getting to know him, because I know him more musically than I do personality-wise. But he seems to be, the rock, where he basically is the word of reason, or the voice of reason, So that's really cool. And I'm coming in with whatever I'm bringing, and it's working out awesome. I'm so excited to be here. And,
it's a great combination.
I miss my family, but if I got to say, my new family here is just pretty awesome, pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, agreed. And on that, I'll let you get back to the studio, because I know that they actually pulled you out of a session to talk to me. So get back in there, make some great music.
It's so funny, because it's like we'd be sitting there and all of us are playing acoustic guitar and everybody's riffing, and a couple times I close my eyes and I'm like, what is this, man? There's like all these, it's like a cacophony of notes going on. Everybody plays guitar, and somebody was asking me, let's do this, let's do that. I'm going, whoa, hold on, I'm confused. Who played that other thing? Who played that? And then we're trying to figure it out. It's like if you sat with a bunch of drummers and you're trying to just figure out a drum beat, and everybody's playing drums. But so what happened is I got pulled out to do the interview with you, and of course, a beautiful gold top Les Paul was sitting there with no fingers on it. Somebody went and grabbed it, and I heard the riff being put down on the demo. So it's
that's right. The album's going to come out with a song, and you're not going to have credit on it because you were doing this interview.
Yeah, I'll be like, it'll turn out to be the big single, and it'll be like everyone's name's on it but mine. I'll be like, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
sorry.
There's my child college fund. It's just, I only got 15 minutes was worth it, pal.
Yeah, there you go. So get back in there, and we'll do another one when this comes out, and of course when you hit the road. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Sounds good, man. Really nice to talk to you, Mitch, and all the best. And
thank you.
And by the way, I want to tell you that me and Dee resolved everything, and we're hanging together all the time in Vegas now.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I didn't want to bring up the D. SNIDER thing, but I think actually, I think he felt.
We have to.
Yeah, I did. But I think he felt sincerely bad about it, because I think he sort of threw out your name randomly, and it became this big thing. I don't think it was ill-intentioned or malicious in any way, but I'm glad to hear it's all resolved.
He bought me dinner. He bought me a bunch of dinners, and I said, "Listen, you spent a lot of money on me. It's all forgotten." And that's how it's going down. Ask him.
Yeah, I will ask him that. But that's good. I'm glad. But you should have kept saying, no, it's going to take one more dinner, D. One more, and then we'll be good. No, one more, and we'll be good.
He's cool, man.
Absolutely.
I love his music, and like I said, I have a little boy that loves Twisted Sister music, and My boy loves the Dead Daisies now. I mean, he's been hearing that. He loves that stuff, and he loves the logo. He loves all the kinds of, skull and crossbone stuff.
Yeah, it's a great logo. And Midnight Moses, by the way, was a killer version. They really, really nailed it. In fact, when I first heard it, I went, wow, what a great new song. And then my brain went, no. This is a cover. And then I had to go dig it up on YouTube, and I went, yeah, no, this is better. No offense to the original artist, but their version was better.
It is better, and they nailed it. And I'm so surprised nobody ever really did that before them.
Yeah,
so,
no, great song.
I'll get to play that riff. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Doug. Get back in there before they write 2 songs without your name on it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, brother.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye.
And there you have it, folks, my interview with Doug Aldrich of the Dead Daisies. And that was my Let's Track Down All the Former Dio and Whitesnake Guitarists We Could Find episode. Certainly hope you enjoyed it. Join me for more. Head over to Twitter at Mitch Lafon. Follow me there, please. And head over to the Facebook page. What is it again? Facebook.com one-on-one Mitch Lafon. And I do have my personal Mitch Lafon Facebook page. Join me everywhere. Why not? I love communicating with the listeners, the fans, etc., etc., etc. And thank you to Vivian and Doug for joining me on this episode. And folks, check out Last in Line, Heavy Crown, and check out whatever the Dead Daisies come up with. It'll be out soon, so make sure you catch that. And hey, support your artists. Do like me. Buy your music. And yes, I am sent stuff for free to preview, and I do actually go out and purchase it after, just for the old, what's the word? I don't want to say shit and giggles, but just for the fact that it's important to throw down your $10 and say, hey, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for these memories, and I'm supporting you. There you go, folks. That's it. And bye for now.